Thinking Music, Global Sources for the History of Music Theory. I am pleased to talk about this project, based jointly at the Max Planck Institute for Empirical Aesthetics in Frankfurt and at the University of Chicago, and I'm involved thanks to Jacob Olley and Carmen. The aims are to select and present influential sources on music theory in its broadest sense from around the globe, going beyond the generally familiar canon and providing those texts with translations and commentaries. The following are my own three contributions. This Cilician codex, kept at the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris, is the earliest extant source for Armenian sacred odes and is endowed with a fascinating colophon that describes the vicissitudes of the scribe, one Hovhannes. Hovhannes was robbed of his codices during his journey and had to start all over again, eventually having recourse to a more knowledgeable specialist. He says, "First I wrote through learning, and only then from what was written," suggesting various possible interpretations regarding his modus operandi, intertwining memory and copying. Inspecting the manuscript itself also gives us some hints, but it all goes to expose how little we actually know of the procedures of medieval Armenian scribes and cantors. The author of my second source is a Constantinopolitan church clerk who evokes mythological figures who derived the church modes from nature: wood, wrought iron, currents, waves. He also evokes the 4th century Armenian saint Isaac Bartev. Heaven and celestials, earth and terrestrials, sea and marine creatures, air and the airborne, those who have an essence over and above the four elements, the angels and man. These constitute 10 as the 10-string lyre with which David used to sing psalms. Such theories had their antecedents in 12th, 14th, and 15th century Armenian theologians and in Greek thinkers, amongst others. And the book promulgates various hybrid notational systems and is the first publication ever reproducing Byzantine neumes using movable type. Finally, we turn to Tntesean. In my selection, I focus on his work on the incomprehensible Armenian medieval neumes. First, on his hypothesis on the metrical values of neumes, corroborated by my recent research on the Odes of St. Gregory of Narek, a different repertoire from that on which Tntesean's theories were based. Next, I turn to his identification of melody species from neumes, which he found strikingly visible, a regular system, which we might exploit in fitting melodies to the hymns. The same musical motifs could be deployed where characteristic combinations of neumes were seen to recur, which helped fit melodies to the words, even though we cannot understand the meaning of the medieval neumes themselves. For a given family of hymns, in his own words, one melody facilitated the other, as if they were all excerpts from the same song, which indeed they are. Of course, he had in mind particular families of melodies within a given mode. This gave an heuristic for the construction, adaptation, and redaction of hymnal melodies. In conclusion, I would say that there is a coherent thread over and above the time axis underlying my three contributions. My first source gives hints on the procedures of the medieval musical scribe numating sacred odes. My second source indicates Gapasak'alean's searches for ancient wisdom and proposal of novel notational systems when the Armenian medieval neumes had already become incomprehensible. Finally, in the 19th century, paradoxically, the emergence of new notational systems renewed interest in neumes, and we witnessed Tntesean's endeavors to use the neumes as an aid to systematize the redaction of melodies that could be recorded permanently. Thank you very much indeed for your attention.